In Poem for Pentecost, written especially for today's service, a believer longs to find the work of the Holy Spirit in a broken world, and then finally realizes that the search itself was a gift from the Spirit. The words of the poem are spoken by Janet Maw, accompanied on saxophone by Mike Houghton. Good morning and welcome to the beautiful cathedral city of Durham. Now I have to say I wouldn't mind being sent here to do a holiday report. It is after all one of the most popular tourist attractions in the north of England. However, I'm not here to be a tourist, rather to find out why the spirit and energy which gave birth to this community still continues to influence the people living here today. It's certainly true that Christmas is in the air. Shops are doing their best to lure in customers. Students at the university are probably counting the days before the end of term exams. But this weekend, the focus is very much on the cathedral, as on this, the first Sunday in Advent, it's buzzing with an excitement all of its own. Hello, Dean. Well, excitement is a word that not many of us may associate with a cathedral. What's so special about today?
Well, it's Advent Sunday. That means it's the first day of the Christian year. It's a good day for starting looking forward to Millennium Year. And of course, Advent comes in the darkest days of the year. We're looking forward to the winter solstice and to the light returning.
Well, I can understand how darkness may have been a concern in the time the cathedral was first built. But what from the past can influence us today?
Well, when the first cathedral was built here, again, people were looking forward to a new millennium. Many of them felt that the world was going to come to an end there, so they were repenting, they were converting new neighbours. I don't think many of us think that the end of the world is going to come in the near future, but we have our own anxieties. I think that people are still worried about death and dying, and above all about meaninglessness in their lives.
We do all have our own anxieties and dreads. What can bring comfort to us?
One of the most comforting things in the whole world is the birth of a child. And one of the things that Advent does, it gives us the opportunity to associate ourselves with the Blessed Virgin Mary, with a young woman in the last month of pregnancy, looking forward to this experience, perhaps with fear, perhaps with anxiety, but also with hope, knowing that the darkest days of all are yet to come, but at the end, the light will return and there'll be a newborn baby in the cradle.
Come Prince of Peace and Reign, the great Advent prayer. Well, next week we'll be exploring another Advent theme, that of new beginnings. I'll be in Manchester, where 3 years after the city centre was devastated by a bomb, the shops and streets are finally reopening. We'll be hearing how hope has come from suffering, and of course there'll be more wonderful music. Until then though, from me, bye-bye. Just yards from the heart of the explosion was Manchester Cathedral. It was partially damaged, but quickly became a place where people could find a bit of peace and try to make sense of what had happened to them. The Very Reverend Ken Riley was then and is now the Dean of the Cathedral. Dean, what role did the Cathedral play immediately after the bombing?
Well, we arranged things at the drop of a hat, as it were, to hold a service exactly a week after the bomb went off, so that we could include that moment in that service and have some silence to think about what it had all meant to us.
What was the general atmosphere like?
I think we were numb, really. We didn't quite know what we felt about it. But the leaders in the city knew what they were going to do, and almost immediately they said, we're going to build the city better than it was before.
Well, turning to our visiting preacher, John Bell. John, it obviously takes a lot of hope in order for this type of regeneration to happen. Where does that hope come from?
I think it comes from two places. The one is the ability of people to leave the past, because if you're stuck in the past, then there's no possibility of you moving forward. And the other is much to do with what the Dean was referring to, where people have a vision of what's possible in the future, to supplant that which is tired or sore or very limiting from the past, then people can walk forward.
But aren't you relying an awful lot on blind faith then, if you can't see what's ahead?
Yes, but then part of living is dealing with mystery and the unknown, and if blind faith is a part of that operation, then yeah, you're relying on blind faith. And being human, sometimes that's all we have to go on.
Well, John, I'll stop you there because I know we're going to be hearing more on that subject from you later on. But Dean, perhaps you could explain some of the beautiful music we'll be hearing in this morning's service.
Well, we are starting with Mackay's "We Wait for Thy Loving Kindness, O Lord." For the whole community in Manchester, the last 3.5 years has seemed quite a long time waiting for the whole place to open up again, as it did only a few days ago. And actually that anthem finishes with the words, "Lord, send us now prosperity," which must be a prayer for the new Manchester.
With that moving music of John Rutter and the lighting of the peace candle, it's time to end our visit here at Manchester Cathedral. Next week I'll be continuing my journey south, this time in my walking boots in Elgar country, in the foot of the hills at Malvern. But for now, from me and Manchester, bye-bye. For you and give you some clues. If you like hill walking, you love it. If you like Elgar, then this is the place for you. And if you like your spring water bottled, then you'll feel right at home. Yep, you guessed it, we're in Malvern. This beautiful rural town snuggles deep at the foot of the Malvern Hills. It's real picture postcard stuff. The town is packed with tourists in the summer, and one of the chief attractions is Malvern Priory, which dates back to Norman times. Now it's very much the parish church at the heart of the town. And so today, on this third Sunday in Advent, we've come to look more at community, or rather individuals in community. And with me is John Barr, the vicar from the Priory Church. John, what type of community do you have here in Malvern?
We've got quite a diverse community. When you come to Malvern first, as I did 2 years ago, you might get an image of a place which is quite monochrome, where you've people who've been living here for many years, or people who come to retire to Malvern or enjoy the lovely scenery around us. But when you live in the place, you soon realise that it's quite a mixture of groups who make up the Malvern community.
Now, if we could just bring in our visiting preacher, John Bell. John, do you think that the meaning of community today does have very different meanings for everybody and in fact may be lost to some?
I think that that's inevitable because we don't all live in the same community in which we work and in which we play and in which we shop. And that's different in Britain from, say, 50 or 60 years ago, where people very much stayed in their own locality and went to their own church. And so, yeah, we tend to live and work in different communities and have different associations with a whole range of people, some of which aren't very deep.
Why do you think it's so important to keep that sense of community?
I think that for our individual growth, we're not meant to be alone, but that in association with different people, in company with different people, parts of our being come alive. When you talk to children, when you're among old people, when you're in a male-only group or a female-only group, different parts of your character come alive. To be on your own and to be isolated is really not to have a fulfilled life.
Well, we'll hear more about that later on from you, John. But, John, as in the last couple of programmes, we'll be hearing some wonderful music this morning. So what about the opening hymn today?
Well, the opening hymn today is an Advent hymn which speaks about the Christ who comes to us as individuals and as community, whatever our circumstances.
It's time to leave the community which worships here at Malvern Priory. Next week, in the last of our series, I'll be at Ealing Abbey in West London, where we'll have more glorious music from yet another tradition. Join me then, but for now, from me and all of us here, bye-bye. Good morning. Well, with less than 2 weeks to go until the end of the year, chances are you already know where you'll be spending that magic millennium moment. All over the country, indeed all over the world, preparations for this unique occasion have become almost obsessional. But when the new year comes and goes and our perspective of time returns to normal, how will we value the time that we do have? This morning I've come to Ealing, often called the Queen of London's suburbs. Known for its film studios and as a final destination on the Central Line, this is very much a dormitory area for the capital centre, but it also has its own distinct atmosphere. Just a short walk from Ealing Broadway is the splendid Abbey of St Benedict. The building is used both by monks and parishioners. Well, joining me is Father David, who's the novice master here at Ealing Abbey, and our visiting preacher, John Bell. If I could start with you, Father David. Now, the fourth Sunday in Advent does focus very much on Mary's waiting, the waiting of pregnancy. But surely waiting is something we find very hard to do.
Indeed we do, no matter what is causing the waiting. But if we think in religious terms, God's first people, Israel, had to wait many, many centuries hoping for the coming of their Messiah. Mary, as you say, had to wait for the fulfillment of her pregnancy. And since Jesus' time, the Christian church has been waiting for him to come again in glory. So there is this period of waiting.
Now, it seems to me that maybe you do have quite a bit of time in your hands. You mightn't have the pressures of everyday life, say business deadlines or picking the children up from school. Do you think that you maybe look at life differently? Your perspective of time is different to the rest of us.
I think that we try and control our time, we try and apportion our time, and that's something that Benedict is very, very keen on in his rule. And in that way, he hopes to that his monks will achieve a balanced life and not just be caught up in some kind of turmoil that you may be suggesting.
Well, John, do you think that that's a slightly idyllic view of the way we could be taking a message from this?
No, I think that waiting is a gift, as money is a gift. And I think all time and all money belongs to God. And if all you do is pack your life with things to do or things to listen to or activities which don't allow you to sense what is bubbling up inside you or what's deep inside you needing attended to, then I don't think you're living a fulfilled life. And I think the monastic community, while we can't all emulate them, at least we can take their example of looking at the time which is at our disposal and deciding how best we use it.
Well, we'll be hearing more from you later on, but first, Father David, will be hearing some beautiful music. How's the service going to begin?
It's the antiphon Rorati Celi for Advent, and in it we invite God to pour down his blessings from above, from heaven onto this earth, above all the gift of his Son, Jesus.
An invitation for everyone, no matter where you live or what age you are. There are many ways you can get involved in Pudsy's party. And there's just the chance that no matter where you are, Pudsey could come to you. Even as we speak, we're blowing the cobwebs off the Pudsey TV truck, and during the night we'll be making some visits to unsuspecting fundraisers. So watch out, we could be heading your way.
So put the date in your diary now. It's Friday,
the 21st
of November, and help us all to make it a great night for
Children in Need. But at the end of the day, the party won't be complete without you, so why not help Pudsey to party this year?
And you can pick up a fundraising pack, which we prepared earlier, to give you ideas of how you can help children in need.
Telephone 0800 099 099 or pick up one from the BBC reception in Belfast or Radio Foil in Londonderry.
Or you can email us at pudsey@belfast.bbc.co.uk.
Let us know what you are doing this year to help.
And remember, every penny or pound you give goes directly to children in need.
So join us on Friday, November 21st. The service will be great. Take a tip from me.
And at number 10, we have Alison Comyn and Pudsey Bear in a classy little number.
This year's show is going to be The Business. It's an all-singing, all-dancing extravaganza. We'll be coming to you live from our studios in Belfast this Friday from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. And we want you to be a part of it. Look out for us in Armagh for another mega street party. The Dungannon Leisure Centre is the place to be in County Tyrone. And in County Derry, you can find us at BBC Radio Foil.
Last year, you raised an amazing £575,000. Please help us to top that total this year.
So join in on Friday and phone in your pledges on 0345 33 22 33.
And we're now into the final countdown.
3, 2, 1.
And it takes just £1 to help us make a real difference. And Pudsey only has one candle left to light. So join us on Friday night at 7 o'clock for the best Children in Need party ever.
Please welcome your hosts for this evening, Alison Comyn and Mark Carruthers.